Welcome, everyone. I'm excited to kick off our presentation today with a fascinating topic. Coercion creates reaction, seduction creates will. On this first slide, you'll see the core idea that underneath influence, there are two powerful approaches: coercion, which provokes resistance, and seduction, which builds genuine desire. Today, we'll explore how working on the hearts and minds of others can make a real difference. We'll look at Law 43 and discover strategies to inspire cooperation and consent, rather than resistance. So, let's dive in and see how understanding these principles can enhance our influence techniques. Coercion, as we know, often triggers a reaction that can end up working against us. It might seem effective at first, but in the long run, it tends to backfire. That's why I emphasize the importance of seduction, getting others to want to move in your direction willingly. When you succeed in seducing someone, they become a loyal pawn, someone who supports you because they genuinely want to, not because they're forced. The key to seduction is understanding individual psychology and weaknesses. Every person has their own emotional triggers, fears, and desires. So, instead of trying to force them, you work on softening their resistance by appealing to their emotions. Play on what they cherish and what they fear. This is how you truly influence them. Ignoring the hearts and minds of others, thinking you can manipulate without understanding their inner world, will only breed resentment. People will grow to hate you if they feel manipulated or ignored. So, genuine influence involves empathy, understanding, and gradually guiding others by appealing to their deepest feelings. That's the real power behind persuasion. When we think about influence, it's important to understand the difference between force and seduction. Seduction, in this context, is like the wind or a feather, something gentle that guides people subtly. When you use seduction, people often believe they are acting on their own free will, and that makes them more likely to follow you willingly, even to the ends of the earth. On the other hand, when you push people with force, they tend to push back. Resistance is a natural reaction. Think of trying to break a stone with a hammer. You might succeed, but it creates a lot of debris and noise, and it can damage the relationship. This leads us to the metaphor of the stone and the feather. The stone represents force, powerful but destructive. The feather symbolizes seduction, gentle and persuasive. Understanding when to use each approach is key to influencing others effectively, and it ties into our overall theme of mastering influence without unnecessary conflict. Now let's talk about the key to the walled city. You see, in any conversation or negotiation, you need to find the keyhole. And that keyhole isn't a physical lock, it's their emotional need, their vanity, or their fear. Once you identify what truly matters to them on that level, you can insert the right key. And when you do that, the gate opens from the inside, inviting you in. It's important to remember, you have to be invited in. You can't just force your way through or batter down the gate with logic or pressure. Every person is like a walled city, with defenses built up to protect what they value most. If you try to smash through those defenses, they will only reinforce them, making the walls even harder to breach. So the most effective approach is to understand what the other person really needs, what they're afraid of, or what they value most. That's the key. And most importantly, you want to earn their invitation, not force your way in. Remember, do not batter the gate. Patience and insight are your best tools here. When the revolution arrived, she found herself without any reservoir of goodwill to rely on. Because she had ignored the feelings and concerns of the French people, they grew to despise her passionately. This intense hatred was so extreme that it ultimately led to her downfall at the guillotine. This serves as a crucial reminder. Indifference to public sentiment can be absolutely fatal. Marie Antoinette never made an effort to understand the struggles or the mood of the French populace. She stayed distant, living in luxury, while dismissing their suffering and hardships. Her transgression, therefore, was her failure to connect with her people, an oversight that proved disastrous in the context of a revolutionary era. This example underscores a vital theme of our presentation. Leadership requires empathy and awareness of the people's needs. Ignoring these can lead to catastrophic consequences. Why? To win his heart. After the 7th release, Meng Huo fell to his knees, overwhelmed by Zhuge Liang's mercy. He pledged absolute loyalty, securing the southern border without the need for a standing army. The key idea here is Zhuge Liang's strategic choice to use mercy and understanding instead of force. He captured Meng Huo, a rebel king, not once but 7 times, and instead of executing him after each capture, he released him repeatedly. This shows Zhuge Liang's remarkable patience and his belief that compassion can be more powerful than punishment. By doing so, he earned Meng Huo's loyalty, which ultimately helped secure the southern border. This story highlights a core theme of our presentation: the importance of wisdom, strategy, and humane leadership in achieving lasting peace and stability. When he needed a vote, he didn't rely solely on arguing policy. Instead, he would lean in close, invade their space, and speak directly to their personal ambitions and insecurities. It's really about wrapping his agenda in their emotional needs, making it almost impossible for them to say no. Lyndon B. Johnson was a master of this approach, often called the Johnson treatment. He studied every senator's likes, dislikes, and fears, understanding what motivated them on a personal level. This deep understanding allowed him to connect with them in a way that transcended traditional politicking. It's a powerful example of how emotional intelligence and personal connection can be just as effective, if not more so, than policy arguments alone. This technique was a key part of his success and exemplifies the importance of understanding human nature in leadership and negotiation. Now, let's talk about the strategy of targeting the heart. The key idea here is to identify what your audience wants most. Often, that's recognition or a sense of security. Once you understand that, your goal is to position yourself as the one who can provide it. To do this effectively, you need to step outside of your own perspective. See the world through their eyes. Think about what they fear, what they crave. It's important to validate their feelings, show that you understand and respect what they are experiencing. Remember, people are primarily ruled by emotion, not reason. So your messaging should appeal to their love, their hate, or even their jealousy. Logic, while useful, tends to feel cold and detached. Emotion, on the other hand, is hot and active. It moves people and drives action. So, in summary, focus on connecting emotionally first. When you do that, you create a powerful bond that makes your message resonate deeply and motivates genuine engagement. Now, let's talk about the core of targeting the mind. The key here is always to align your goal with their self-interest. If you can show them how helping you also benefits them, you're speaking their language. This is genuinely the ultimate key to unlocking the mind's defenses. Next, we consider the role of prejudices. Everyone has them, whether they realize it or not. Instead of challenging these prejudices directly, which can make people defensive, it's smarter to use them to your advantage. Frame your arguments in a way that fits their existing worldview. This makes your message more natural and easier for them to accept. And then, there's the concept of intellectual vanity. Make your counterpart feel smarter than they think they are. Ask for their advice or opinions. This makes them feel respected and valued. When someone feels their intellect is recognized, they become more open and less guarded. By combining these elements, aligning with their self-interest, respecting their prejudices, and flattering their sense of intelligence, you create a powerful approach to influence the mind effectively. This strategy is about understanding the human psyche and working with it, not against it. So, history consistently shows us that relying on force alone is simply not sustainable in the long run. When you use terror to maintain control, it often breeds secret hatred among the people. Over time, that hidden resentment can lead to uprisings and rebellion. What's really important here is recognizing that it's actually safer, more cost-effective, and ultimately more enduring to govern through the consent of the governed, rather than by brute force. Winning hearts and minds creates a stable foundation for leadership that lasts. Now, is there ever a situation where ignoring the hearts and minds might be justified? Well, only when you hold absolute power and wish to rule through terror. But that's a dangerous game, because it may work temporarily, but it's inherently unstable and morally questionable. This brings us to the concept of the iron fist. It's a metaphor for ruling through sheer force and fear, which might seem effective in the short term, but is rarely sustainable or legitimate in the long run. Ultimately, history teaches us that sustainable leadership depends on legitimacy and consent, not just power and fear. Let's take a moment to acknowledge the sources behind these visuals. First, we have an image from McCash Chicago, org, which beautifully illustrates the creative energy of the arts. Next, from Shaolin, org, we see an iconic image representing the strategic calm of the martial arts tradition. Moving on, Nomad.org provides us with a portrait that symbolizes elegance and refinement, reminding us of the importance of artistry in all forms. Then, we have a striking watercolor illustration from Freepik, calm that highlights the interconnectedness of the mind and body, a theme central to our discussion on resilience and holistic strength. Following that, there's an image of craftsmanship from Freepik, calm, emphasizing resilience through the metaphor of shaping and forging strength with a mighty hammer. Lastly, from Deep Dream Generator, calm, we see a surreal, abstract visual that represents the power of imagination and the subconscious mind in our creative processes. Each of these sources contributes to our overall narrative, illustrating the diverse dimensions of resilience, strategy, artistry, and inner strength. Recognizing these sources not only credits the creators, but also enriches our understanding of how visual storytelling supports our broader message. Now, let's take a moment to look at the sources for the images we've used in this presentation. The first image comes from Life, Hope, and Truth, Calm, which offers a visual representation of the themes we've discussed, particularly the contrast between ruling with an iron fist and ruling with a rod of iron. This imagery helps us understand the different styles of leadership and authority that are often depicted in biblical prophecy. The second image is from Freepik, calm and shows a lively crowd of young people celebrating and having fun. This picture symbolizes the joy and unity that can come from true, righteous leadership that promotes harmony and well-being among people. Both images serve to reinforce our overall message, the importance of understanding biblical principles of leadership and authority. They remind us that the type of leadership we follow or promote has a profound impact on society. As we move forward, keep these concepts in mind: how leadership styles shape our world and how biblical insights can guide us toward better choices.